Okay, we're back for another exciting level design tutorial. Today I'm going to go over beautiful block mesh. So that's a term I borrowed from a comrade, which I think fits this perfectly, because as level designers we need to do blockouts, but the more your blockout represents the finished level, the more details you have, the more your team, your development team, your teachers, your friends, whoever's looking at this stuff is going to get an idea of what the level is. They can play it with excitement instead of playing it like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of boxes and big spheres and stuff in here and I don't know where I am. So we started off our building of our level by doing based on this concept image. So this is how it all started back in Level Design 1 and Building to Scale, as well as some basic popcorn trail tutorials talking about how to start putting in a mission with text and such. And slowly we've built this up to fit the scale of the level, uh, and basically the level layout. As I run around this, my player knows that, fits this, how many rails are here, where the slime river turns. There's a bridge here, there's a kiosk here, there's pillars here, there's a curved roof. This roof might be curved, but I don't have it curved at the moment. It generally fits the layout completely as we run through it. So then I've had the freedom to add my own details. For the mission, I put in a generator. For lighting and just the interest of the level in general, I put in this hole in the wall and ceiling to bring in some natural light. I added this source of slime, which is kind of the context of our mission, find the source of the slime. I added this room, which is kind of a control room generator. There's still details I want to add in here. But let's go over what is beautiful block mesh, because the term can be a little bit weird. You're like, what exactly? I'm a level designer. I'm not an I'm not an environment artist or prop artist. So, but you do have to learn how to make interesting shapes, and it's kind of like learning how to sketch. You can make interesting shapes and communicate things very well. So this is how we do it. We first started out with, let's go over here into our empty space. Back in Unreal Brush Basics, go to that video and you will see that I built a pillar from our concept image out of a series of brushes. And if we look at the wireframe, you can see how I built it. It has one brush here, one brush here, one brush here, and as we turn on lit, so it's not so weird, it's just starting off with a box brush and scaling it accordingly, layering them on top of each other, and voila, you get a nice interesting brush. If you select all of them at the same time, so I could try and select all of them, but I'm not going to convert it to static mesh. If I select all of them at the same time and go down here, it allows me to turn it into a static mesh, which is what you see here. This is the static mesh version of it. And it looks good. And it doesn't suck up all your computer processing power by having thousands of brushes over, 20 columns or something. It's very easy to put in collision. You just double click on the static mesh and you get collision by adding collision. We'll go over that in a sec. So why is there checkerboards on this? I don't know. This seems like an Unreal error. This is all was covered in texture. And it seems to, alright, it seems to think, select the same material, world grid material. Let's see if we replace it in one fell swoop, which I've probably tried to do this multiple times in the latest Unreal and it doesn't work very well. Textures, neutral gray, replace. And see, it doesn't replace them all. Wow, it's just the worst in Unreal 4. Do not want, see, it selects everything, yet it replaces one. Ah, replace them all. Just doesn't want to do it. So aggravating. So at some point these were all textured. We're going to ignore that for now. You have to have textures on these. So this is your basic kiosk that we start with. So instead of me having an untextured one on my level, we're going to build my kiosk and make it look better. So this is the first kiosk we put in the level. The first thing we do is get the scale by just creating a cylinder. So let's do that. And since I can't get it to solve the textures, which has been a problem in Unreal 4 since the beginning, I'm going to drag this in here. And that's not a brush. I'm going to start with a brush. Now I want to have more sides. And there's already material on it. I'm going to scale it a little bit higher. This, just by me looking at it, looks huge. I'm also going to scale. Alright, the only way to know for sure is to run next to it. It's looking a little too close to the edge. The size looks alright. The only reason I know the size is if I look at this. My guy would probably be up to this window. These are bottles. Large beer. Well, it looks like beer. Could be wine bottles. This box looks pretty big. I'm figuring my waist is about up to here, so my head's about here. So that's about right height. We'll double check though. Waist to be about there. It might be just a little tall. I don't want it sinking in the floor a ton, so let's get it up there. Just a little more. Move it back a little. I don't like how close it is. Forces the player to get too close to the slime. All right, that's good scale. So this is this is an okay representation. There's my newspaper kiosk, but it just looks like a primitive cylinder. Not much to it. Let's beef this up. Let's make it look interesting. So we look at the static mesh. It has a overhang roof on top. It has probably a base which is similar at the bottom. You can't see it immensely. There's garbage and rocks here, but I think there should be. There's an indentation where the newspaper window would be. And there's some ridges around it. I could or could not put the ridges on it, but we should at least have a roof, a base, indentation, and maybe 2 more extrusions here, which is where the counter would be, and the top of where the door or the door would open, the newspaper stand would open. So let's do that. So all we need to do is to simplify our lives is copy paste and create ourselves the upper roof section. So right now it completely matches it. So what I want to do is either manually scale it, see how that looks. And let's do this. Let's give it an angle. That looks nice. Play. Don't forget, play, 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 play. Alright, that looks much better. Looks really weird without a base though. I don't think I'll have my base angled, so I'm going to copy paste, bring this down, and actually instead of just making that face, I'll just copy paste this one, shrink this one down, and let's see if I can grab these two. Looks pretty good, should stick out just a bit more. Beauty. Well, that looks super skinny. Now we look at the ledge above our indentation where the little window is and the countertop here. I'm going to probably replicate this here. Maybe both of them there. Although this looks like it's beveled on two spots, one above and below, and same with this one. Or it just may look like this from the bottom but beveled. I'm going to avoid the bevel. But let's try this for this one. Let's grab the roof. It's going to be thinner, so copy paste. And then let's do a copy paste, rotate. And let's do copy paste up to simulate where the counter would be. And this is going to look weird if this is the same thickness and everything, so let's make it a little bit thicker. And this is just architectural 101. Having like a base on a building or something really makes it stand out a little bit more. It should probably be thicker. There we go. Play. Alright, that's already looking way better. So now we need the counter to be at my waist and not all the way up here at my eyes. And we need this ridge up top to come down a little bit closer to my head. So I'm picking up key architectural details, and I'm going to make this thinner because it's just too thick right now. And I'm going to grab these two, make them a little thinner. And I think they're on different axes since I rotated, so it's not going to work so well. Play again. Oh, not bumping me in the head. So one's a little bit lower, one's higher. You go higher. You go lower. This goes lower. And this goes lower as well. And I'll just grab the face. Lower. Play. Notice as I'm constantly playing and checking. I'm not just guessing. That looks like I could reach over and get my newspaper. That looks like a good window size. Maybe that little ridge could be a little bit higher. I actually want to make it thinner. So 0.07, 0.05. 0.05. And let's just move that guy. Oops. Let's move this guy up a little bit. Alright, I'll check it in one sec, but what I want to do now is grab this and duplicate it again. Now I'm going to create the little window indentation. And I'm going to squish it. Squish, 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 squish. Squish, squish, squish. And I'm going to rotate it. The window kind of faces. I'm going to turn off my snaps. So we're trying to make it to look like something. We're trying not to just have it be a blobby object. And there's definitely times when you can have a blobby object. But it still should be clean, have a texture, and if you can add a couple details just to make the lighting stand out. So that's the key, is Unreal has beautiful lighting, even new Unity has beautiful lighting. You want the lighting to do its thing, create shadows, create contrast, create contours, even going into a barren room in an office building. Just by having edges along the walls, some simple furniture, it looks like something. Oh, I'm in edit mesh mode. Bad, bad, bad. I call it edit mesh mode because of Maya. So right now it's still a plus. I'm going to make it a negative in a second, but I want to get it off these two areas. Scale it down. Subtract. And ooh, looks like we got something here. Play. Play, 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 play. Oh, it's on the wrong side. That's okay. Let's rotate the whole thing. That definitely looks like a newspaper kiosk window to me. We definitely want to smooth out these. Let's build lighting. I won't say anything until we build lighting. So let's grab everything at once. And for now, I'm going to group it so we can control it. Don't forget that the negative brush is here. Oh, that's not the one. Grab the negative brush, Control G. Regroup it. I think it did. Back to lit mode. E for rotate. There we go. It's facing this way. It's like it leads to a little bit more this way. This way. Okay, let's do a save. Now let's do a build of my lighting. As soon as you start adding subtracted brushes, additive brushes, it starts messing up the lighting around it. So you need to build every once in a while. And if your computer is getting older, yes, it will be very slow. But that's life with Unreal 4. And we have my rails have overlapping UVs. I probably haven't corrected that light map channel yet. So let's go in and check it out. See how smooth it looks. But I'll definitely see the ridges and facets. The only way I'm going to get rid of these ridges and facets is to go into Maya, which I'll do in another tutorial. But that looks pretty darn good. My final step would be go in Maya and smooth all these edges with what we call smoothing groups for Max, but in Maya it's just soften edges or hard edges. But I have to do that in Maya, which I won't do today. So that's a nice piece that looks way better than just a cylinder. We saw how to do the brushes and or the pillars. Whoa. Let's fix, now that I converted them to static mesh, we find in content browser, double click on them. See, there's no colored box around it, so we just want to add a box to it. There we go. Save. That fixes my collision. So yeah, go back to the brush basics to see me build this again. I showed you the overview of it. Another thing I want to point out are architectural details. So how did I make this in here? One thing is carefully. I started with just an 8-sided cylinder, and it became a negative cylinder. And as you can see, I went into geometry editing and I grabbed the points and made these wider here. So if I grab this point, pulled it out, grab this point, pulled it out, grab this point, pulled it out. And I tried to make a deformed hole that looked kind of deformed, but I kept the shape pretty close. I pulled this one up, and then up here I put a negative brush that went up and is there a negative brush? Yeah, there's a negative brush under this additive brush. You just can't see it. I can barely see the outline. There's a negative cylinder without deformation, an 8-sided cylinder going through my wall and ceiling. And if we look at it from lit mode, when I put this in here, it started getting some really weird deformation with holes and distortions. So what I did is just duplicate the negative cylinder here and make it an additive. So if there's an additive one, if we can grab the subtractive one. I can't grab it. It's right on top of it. So there's a subtractive one as well. So I created another additive on top of it to give it structure, and I made it hollow. Now it's formed more like a pipe. As you can see, it has an inner radius and outer radius. So that's how I made that look good. And it looks blocky and it looks prototypey, but it looks good. Or looks somewhat good. Another detail is my generator here. This is now static mesh. This is very obvious what I made it out of. We go look at the brushes out here. Cylinder, cube, or box. I made a box. I went into geometry editing and I selected this face. And I scaled it in so it had more of a bevel to it. I then cloned this one, this box with the bevel, and made it this size by just scaling it, cloning it again, putting it here, cloning this cylinder, rotating it, making it smaller, putting it here, cloning this one, pushing it up, making it smaller, putting it here. And this is a clone version of the base again. That looks like a little control panel. So now we have something that looks more like a generator and not just a giant box in the middle of the floor. Obviously converted it to static mesh, gave it collision, very simple. I didn't do any Maya cleanup with this one either. So none of these have had Maya cleanup yet, which I will do in another tutorial because it's kind of tedious. Other details, the roof is made up of one giant additive box all the way across, one negative cylinder, that's been scale deformed. As you can see, it's squished up into the roof, so it creates this nice arch. And then what I did to create these little structures, which are also untextured. Wow, how annoying. Not sure what's going on with suddenly objects becoming untextured. But like I said, it's really hard to replace them. It seems like you have to go face to face and replace them. So I duplicated the negative. And actually, let's just do it. Let's get rid of these. So I duplicated the negative brush, which I have selected. Copy paste. I'm making it additive, and because this is the last brush created, it's now going to be additive. As you can see, we can see it, and it's completely untextured. How annoying is that? Do, 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 do. I don't even see the texture override or materials. Where's the material override? Alright, so I make it additive, and now I'm trying to make some arches in it. I want to select the whole object. Alright, so this is about the size of a support arch. And you're like, why am I making support arches? Because you do see some arches right here. So if we want to put some of these in, which are a nice touch, give you better lighting detail and such, very simple. Scale them. Now we want to make them hollow. This is going to make them look like a tunnel, but as you can see, now they're starting to look like support arches. So I'm going to go over here, start at the beginning of my room. They're sitting a little bit inside. Perfect. So let's see if we can selecting a trigger volume. That's great. Why would a trigger volume have that material on it? I do not know. But let's see one more time if I can get the materials to replace. Let's just put the wall on it. Nope, it just did one. Alright, well, problem for another day. We've got my beam here. Now let's be architecturally sane and place them accordingly. We'll place one at the first pillar. We'll place one as that pillar evenly set up. Looks fairly even. This one's not. This is a shorter distance, so we're going to have to move this to a little bit farther away. Better to do this in top-down mode so we can see the distances. But for demo purposes, this is good. We want to make sure your things are even, look architecturally sane. Alright, now we got a bunch of halo rings. Not looking so good. Looks like a space tunnel. So what we need to do next is just add a subtractive box here to cut them off right here. So go to wireframe. Oh, there's one here. Look at that. So what I do is create a box that's subtractive. And I just need to place it so it only touches the lower half of these rings. So right now this is going into the wall and it may cut off more than I want. So I'm going to copy, paste, and I'm going to make sure I delete the old one. So this is going into the wall, so what we need to do is move it back. And let's see what we see here. There we go. It's a little better. And this is the old one. Let's grab the old one and delete it. Grab our subtractive brush again. Grab the face. Not let it make a giant hole in the wall. Have it only subtract the arches. And let's just play. Oh, a little indentation there. I gotta pull that out. As you can see, that's how I make quick arches. And actually the checkerboard, you can't tell too much, but it's really annoying that it keeps replacing materials. Not sure why. Alright, that's another good architectural detail. Generator, series of simple brushes, column, simple brushes, this simple brushes, and really paying attention to your eye, what you see, scale. Railings is 3 brushes. Ooh, they don't have collision either. What other things? How did I make this? This is really easy. This is the glass texture, which is by default in your starter materials. If you go in here, this is the starter materials. There is glass. So I put glass texture over a brush. And you can see this is one brush. Ta-da! It's just a box brush of glass. But what are these? Well, these are individual brushes with regular gray materials on it, just placed over the top of it to make them look like this whole thing is broken into grids. So I didn't make individual grates or anything. And there is a little issue here with the glass showing through this corner, which I could probably fix. Actually, let's see if I can fix it right now. Copy, paste. Still showing through? It is still showing through. It likes to show through that side, which is weird. It might be. It's showing the skybox. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but it's not a big deal. I'm okay with that showing through for now. Looks pretty good. So what I have is a series of brush here, brush here, brush here, brush here to make the structure of the grates, and just one box with a glass texture on it. What other details do we have here? So for these blue lights, I made 2 tiny light fixtures that really help it look more like there's something there in a light source instead of just a big bright blue reflection on the wall, which I think makes a lot of levels look bad. So let's do that for this as well. This beautiful light bulb here, which is nothing more than an icon, probably needs a hanging light to go with it. So let's do a quick beautiful block mesh for this. BSP wall box. Scale. Sometimes I type numbers, sometimes I use the tool. So let's do this one at 0.1, 0.1. Actually still too big. 0.05, 0.05. Move this up. So this is just our hanging electric wire. Still a little big. 0.03, 0.03. Oh, why did that not work? It did. Alright, now let's create a light bulb. And we'll make a good light bulb. Sphere or a cone? We should do, oh, I think maybe a sphere might work. Let's do a sphere. That's how easy this is to deform. Oh, sphere is not easy to deform. Point 3. Still too big. Let's get it hanging from the electric line. Your classic old school yellow light bulb from all survival horror games now. That is huge, obviously. 0.1. Oh, not 0.0. Getting better. And let's see if I can just deform a couple points here. Go to my edit mesh, or I'm sorry, geometry editing mode. Now this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point. Pull it up. And play. Let's see what it looks like. Come on, play button. Alright, that's a good start. So the only thing missing from that is a real bright source. Let's get our light close to it. Looks like it'll be a little bit big, but really for blockout, that's fine. And I could actually make maybe this a tad skinnier if I grab the points, but I'm not going to. So what I'm going to do is create a quick yellow material here to make it glow. So let's go to my tutorial, textures, new material, M underscore. Try and keep your light bulb. Double click, base color, constant, CONST, 3 vector. What does 3 vector mean? RGB, the basis of all color. Make it a light yellow, very bright. Should be a little warmer. Did it not work? Hello. Let's do a constant 3. Constant 3. Why isn't my base color working? Bah! Close you. No. Go back to my level. You delete. This is how you solve problems in games. Get something that works. Duplicate. Light bulb. I'll just manipulate an existing one. Double click. What is going on? It's like the picker's not working. Crazy. I can't put in a custom color. So now I have to guess where my colors are going here. I want it cooler. No. Now let's see how that looks. Super bright yellow, but whatever. Let's grab that guy. Oh, that's weird. It must be a bug. I might have to restart Unreal. And I'm trying to just get this material on here. Boy, my materials are just kicking my butt today. Weird. I think I just need to restart my, Unreal. Because I cannot get any of my materials to work. So I'm going to do it the hard way. Replace it face by face, because it won't even like replace it all. And believe me, this does work when you just click. It should replace all. Something going on here. I don't know what. Let's get my light and reinforce this as well. This is way out here. Let's bring it closer to here. There you go. Get a good light shine on it. Build lighting only. And if this works, I'm good. And that will be the end of our beautiful block mesh. We get some good results. So think architecture, think details, think what will change your lighting. There's plenty of other things I could point out. And you don't have to be perfect. You can abbreviate things, but you really have to just play the level and look at it. You got to use reference. What do pipes look like? Well, see, there you go. Looks pretty good. I just really need to replace that material, which is annoying. I'm going to have to reboot Unreal. It's even casting a shadow there like a light would. You get a glimpse of it. Gonna fix that. Next tutorial, I'll show you how I fix it and see what's wrong with it. So you can see this looks great. Our scale's in place. How's our ceiling look? Excelente. Our lights over here, which are nothing more than 2 boxes, scaled and squished. Look good. The pipes over here, I'm sure you can guess how these were made. Cylinder and another cylinder on top. This is a sphere with our slime texture on it, and a hollow cylinder for a nozzle or pipe. This pipe cutting across the room gives it more structure and purpose. My machine room is nothing more than another generator. Cylinder for a tank, so 3 cylinders for tanks, a base. Stairs up to a control platform. Bright light above. We'll clone our other light bulb here once I fix that material. Alright, so that's how you think with beautiful block mesh. More architecture, more details for the lighting to work, and just give your level a lot more interest. Alright, I hope that helps, because I keep using that term, beautiful block mesh. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.